Can you give me a hand? I don't want this thing to fall over on me.
Gonna stabilize it, or?
Yeah, yeah. I think that's,
There you go.
that's got it. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
As this thing come up, put it down.
Right there, just leave it right there, sir.
Leave it right there, it's okay. Bart, you wanna come sit down? Thank you. Thank you for coming. This is by far the most difficult moment I've had as an elected official. I signed a paper that I will send to Nashville for noon Central Time as the deadline, stating that I do request not to be on the ballot, which otherwise, if I didn't make the statement, they would keep me on the ballot in the 9th District. And the 9th District that they have under these new lines is nothing like the 9th District that I've represented. I've had the great honor to represent the 9th District for the last 19 and a half years. And it's been a district that is majority African-American district, which is Memphis, mostly Memphis. Lately it's gone up into Tipton County too, or half of Tipton County, but basically it's Memphis. I love Memphis, Tennessee. It's the home of it's where I was born. I'm a fourth generation Memphian. And I have fought for Memphis during the 47 years that I've been in elected office from Memphis. I've had the best constituency one can imagine. It's a very unusual situation in America. Memphis' 9th District is not a voting rights district, but it is a majority-minority district. It's second to Benny Thompson's, the number of percentage of African Americans in the district is 62% African American. And since my first election in 2006, I've had 9 re-elects. And I haven't lost a precinct in my re-elects. And I've had significant African American opponents almost every time I've run, including the 18-year former mayor of Memphis and some up-and-coming attorneys and people in Memphis. So I haven't lost a precinct. I think that's unique in the Congress, but it's unique in America that an African-American majority district has elected a white guy, and that we've had a great relationship and a great amount of support, and it shows that that district and those people vote and choose, as the Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act gives them that opportunity. They choose the person that they think is the best, who represents them the best, who does the best job, who votes their positions, and who does the constituent services. I considered running in one of these 3 districts, but they're not Memphis. One of them has 12 precincts more, 12 counties, excuse me. 2 of them go around, one to the Kentucky border, one to the Mississippi border, and go all the way up to the Republican County south of Nashville, Williamson County. There's no commonality of issues and purposes between Williamson County and Orange Mound, or the parts of Memphis that are the African-American majority communities. No commonality of interest. The district that we have, it will still be the district at least till January, and possibly if we win the lawsuit, is compact, which is what you're taught in civics classes, is that redistricting should be compact districts, and districts where the people in it have a commonality of purpose and interest. And that district does. And because of the fact that it's majority black and there are white constituents there too, doesn't mean that they don't have the same interests. They have the same interests: the future of Memphis economically, health care for people in Memphis, whether they're black or white, fairness for women to have a right to choose, fairness for gays and lesbians to have rights to marry and to live without persecution. There are all kinds of issues about jobs and job training and education. And I've been blessed to be able to have brought more money and opportunity to people in the state of Tennessee through the Tennessee Education Lottery that I worked 19 years to pass in the Tennessee State Senate. It was hard to pass it. You needed 2/3 in the second time in each of the houses. And I got it by the bare minimum of 22 votes when we got the vote. And then I went out with my girlfriend and our dog, and we campaigned across the state, and we, with $300,000, beat the opposition who had $2 million. And we passed that. And it's brought in over $8 billion for scholarships for kids in Tennessee. When the Republicans needed help with getting monies for a new bridge across the Mississippi River, which has been a dream in Memphis and among the business community and the citizens, to get a larger bridge. We've got a bridge that was built in 1949. We needed a larger bridge, larger lanes, and which was earthquake proofed or resilient. They needed give or take $400 million from the federal government. And the Republican Department of Transportation, the Chamber of Commerce, came to me in this room and asked me to champion their cause with Secretary Buttigieg and the Biden administration. And I did. And we got that money. It's the largest infrastructure transportation grant in the history of the state of Tennessee. If you have a congressional delegation that has 9 members and they're all Republican and they all bend a knee to Donald Trump, which they've done on this redistricting. This is for Donald Trump to get one more vote, he thinks, to stop him from being impeached. If you have 9 votes that are all alike, you have a Democratic president, which you're likely to have in 2028, but you'll have at some point, but I think you'll have it 2028. You're not going to have anybody to go to say, Congressman Cohen, would you go to the Secretary of Transportation and help us with funds? They have just had the experience of having to have one Democrat who they could go to, who was on the Transportation Committee and who could deliver. And even with that experience, and at the bridge that we've talked about forever in Memphis and in Tennessee, $1 billion bridge, they sacrificed the opportunity to have a Democrat, which would be a Democrat in that district. Now, they said they did it not based on race, but on partisanship. Well, they should have learned a lesson from what happened when they came to me and they got their $400 million and the bridge is going to be built, because it was not a partisan issue. Transportation is not partisan. But now it will be, because they won't have anybody that can go to a Democratic secretary and get anything. They didn't learn. They didn't learn at all. The African-American population is very much distressed by this ruling. They have had the opportunity to choose the member that they wanted. It was Harold Ford Sr. in '74, it was Harold Ford Jr. in '96, and it was me in 2006. And the people want me again. I have an opponent who's verbally facile and can jump around and dance and do things like that. And if somebody, that's who they wanted, that's who they can have, because I don't dance anymore. I don't jump around. But I think I was going to win that race, and I'd like to run that race. And if the courts will give 2 more years to the district to be the old District 9 that I've represented, it's Memphis. I will run for that office. That's the office I've been elected to for 20 years. It's the office that is the perfect office for me. And I think sometimes I'm amazed at that the support I've got is so strong, and that a lot of people would have thought nobody, they didn't think a Caucasian could ever win, but they underappreciated the love of the African American people for a candidate who represented them well, independent of race. So that's something special about Memphis, and we're not going to have that. And I feel bad for my constituents, because a lot of them come up to me regularly and say, please, we're for you, and don't quit. Don't quit. I've had people tell me, as recently as today, African American and Caucasian, don't quit. And I don't want to quit. I'm not a quitter. But these districts were drawn to beat me. They were drawn to defeat me. And I had an uncle a long time ago who told me many pithy statements. And he said, Steve, never put your head in a lion's mouth. And this is what I would be doing, to go out. And I can't represent counties all the way to Williamson County that have nothing in common with Memphis. And Memphis is that's my Jones. It's Memphis, and I get things from Memphis. You can look around here. There's the baseball park, which I got the state funding to help make it happen. The Memphis State Tigers. The bridge over here, which is a bridge we got that's a walking and bicycle bridge across the Mississippi River, which I got the funding for that. That's my home, looking at it over the park from my house. But Memphis is my home, and that's what I fight for, and I want to do it again. And if I get the chance, I'll do it. But otherwise, I'll be retiring from Congress and from, I guess, from public life. Anybody have any questions? I'll be glad to answer them.
So, Congressman, what was the deadline that you mentioned at the beginning?
It's noon Central Time,
Okay,
which is, I guess, 1 o'clock here.
okay. And what's the disposition of the lawsuit? There's a lawsuit going on?
Yeah, there's several lawsuits. I'm a party plaintiff to the lawsuit that the Tennessee Democratic Party and joined by the, I believe the ACLU has filed. We had asked for a temporary restraining order before the filing deadline, which, convenient, they made the filing deadline 7 days after they passed the bill, and they made the withdrawal deadline at the same time, so that you can't withdraw once you file, and if somebody looks that they filed and maybe it messes up the equation, you can't do anything about it, because they had their candidates chosen. They had their candidates chosen, 2 incumbents and Brent Taylor, who is, hates Memphis, and is an awful human being. But regardless, that's the deadline set up. And
Congressman, if I can just ask, obviously, and thanks for having us here to do this, Democrats there's been multiple states where Democrats haven't come out on the winning side of this redistricting issue, yours included, Virginia recently as well. How do you think Democrats going forward should respond here, and what can Democrats do in the wake of all these redistricting losses?
well, they have to vote in record numbers, and if there was an unbelievable registration effort among Democrats, and that, in my perspective, includes African Americans in a major way, and they vote in great numbers, there's a chance this could backfire on the Republicans. I'm not sure if they can. Tennessee's really, really backwards. We're 50th in the country in public education funding. We don't give SNAP payments out to the whole state. We turn down the federal government SNAP payments. I mean, we have an expanded Medicaid. It was amazing I passed the lottery. It took me 20 years, and it wasn't until Kentucky that borders us and Georgia that borders us had it. For but you know, we're slow, and we haven't gotten medical or quote unquote recreational marijuana, and the people are for it by unbelievable numbers. So Tennessee's a tough state to get anything done.
Mr. Congressman?
Yes, sir.
What responsibility do lawmakers on both sides have to maybe reach a deal or to come to a decision to end this redistricting battle?
First, let me finish up your question. The thing is, it's voting. People need to vote, but I don't know. We could have a deal per se. I mean, Donald Trump is a gangster. This is a gangster move to call the Texas governor and say, "Find me 5 new congressmen," and I'm entitled to them because I carried the state. That's not the way congressional districts go. Is who carries the state? That's the way the Electoral College goes. I just went over to get my paper notarized to send to this coordinator for elections, and there's on the ground floor of Longworth, there's a whole bunch of murals about the house, and there's this big one that says, "Welcome to the People's House." This is the People's House, and they said Tennessee is a conservative state. My district isn't conservative. Memphis is part of Tennessee, but it's not conservative. Nashville's not conservative, and they got gored after the 2000 census as well. So the 2 major cities don't have congressmen, and in Nashville, the 3 people that were in the suburbs and the rural areas, none of them opened up an office in Nashville for people to get constituent services. None of them got a community project for Nashville. They probably didn't go to Nashville unless it was to ride in one of those open air buses and drink. Does that answer your question? I mean, I don't know what we can do. I mean, I was on an NPR interview and they said, "Well, so you're in favor of the Democrats responding?" If we should have nonpartisan election commissions, and I've had a bill in since about 2011. And I put it in again recently. I named it for John Tanner, who originally had the bill, and then later added Jim Cooper's name, the John Tanner Jim Cooper Voting Act, and it would say all federal elections have to be districts have to be created by nonpartisan groups. Doesn't get anywhere up here because the Republicans and all the legislators, their districts are drawn by the legislature, and they don't want to fool with the change in the system. It's kind of insider game. Gavin Newsom did the right thing, I think, by responding after the gangster Trump got Abbott to take a knee and try to get him 5 seats, which will probably get him 3, maybe a net of 1. But in the states that the Democrats have had some success, Virginia, until the Supreme Court acted, like California, were referendums. So the people made the decision, we want to do this. The Republican states, the people haven't been involved at all. It's been all the legislatures and the governor calling special sessions or not vetoing or whatever. And that's what's happened in Texas, what happened in Florida, what happened in Tennessee, what happened in Alabama. It's going to happen in Alabama, maybe in South Carolina, Ohio, etc. But they've not had the people vote at all. So it's hard to come with some kind of an agreement because you can't get an agreement with Trump, and he won't keep his word. Ask his 3 wives.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen, for doing this. The district you currently represent has been split into 3 new districts. What's your message to the folks who will be representing those districts, will probably be Republicans? You've spoken about the relationship that you have with your constituents and how they feel about you. What's your message to anyone who will succeed you from the other side of the aisle? What would you say about your constituents to them, and what do you hope that they would know about those constituents as they think about how to best represent them?
Well, to be honest, I've had very little contact with Andy Oglesby. Tried to be nice, and when he had a post office he wanted named, they have to have every member of the delegation sign on, and I signed on. He referred to me the other day as an old white Jewish guy. Well, I guess I'm old, but and I'm Jewish and I'm white. But why he had to say a white Jewish guy is distinguished from a black Jewish guy. I mean, Sammy Davis and a few other people, they're gone. As far as white Jewish guy, I mean, does that mean that there's something different among Jewish people and white people? I don't know what he's saying, but he doesn't either. So I don't really think I'd have any opportunity to talk to him, and nor to make any difference. You know, he's just living his life till he gets convicted, and then he'll get a pardon from Trump. I think Chaz Mulder, who's running in that seat, whose district was also cut up, he's the mayor of Columbia in Murray County. They cut his city and his district up too, because he was getting too close to Andy Oglesby. Chaz is going to run, I'll support him. And he's a good candidate. He's bright, he's hard working, and he may win the district. And he's told me he'll make Memphis a priority, and he wants to talk to me about constituent services and how we've served our constituents, and that he will make Memphis a priority, and I think he will. As far as David Kustoff, who represents part of Shelby County and 11 counties to the west, David knows the Republicans and the business interest in Memphis, but he has no knowledge of the African American community in the inner city. And I don't think I can tell him anything. And then if Brent Taylor wins, Brent Taylor's a strange guy. He's a mortician. And he was asked by the Confederates that got Nathan Bedford's Forrest body and his wife's body after they were exhumed from underneath a statue of Nathan Bedford Forrest some 5 or 6 or 7 years ago. A story I've heard from a Democratic legislator in Tennessee that I respect, he exhumed the bodies at the request of the Confederate group. He clothed the bodies. I don't know what there was to clothe. I guess it was skeletal remains. I don't know. And took photographs, and has those on his phone, and has shared them in the General Assembly. So what can I tell him about my black community? Wake up.
Republicans are saying this has nothing to do with race. They're saying this is a counter to kind of the power grab that they're accusing Democrats of in Massachusetts, for example, where there are Republican voters but no Republican seats in the House. What's your response to that? How much of this is race? How much of this is just power?
Well, it's power, but it's definitely race too. In the redistricting, 2 of the new districts have 29% black population. The third one is, I think, 31 or 32%. It's within the margin of error. If you didn't consider race and you drew 3 new districts and 2 of them were exactly 29%, that in itself, in their maps, militate against what they have alleged, that it has nothing to do with race, but with policy and with party. He wouldn't come down with 29%. As one of the Bo Mitchell, who was a state representative, asked me in one of the hearings when I testified before two of the committees in Nashville last week. He said, "You're the father of the Tennessee State Lottery. The odds of winning Powerball are like 1 in 11 million. What are the odds of 2 districts coming out with 29% African American and one with 32% if race wasn't an issue?" And I told him I was going to go out and buy a Powerball ticket. Better odds.
Can I ask the mechanism by which you would re-enter the race if the lawsuit succeeded?
Well, if the lawsuit succeeds, I believe what happen is they will enjoin this entire bill, the law, which set up new filing standards and all that. It would revert back to the old standards, which I qualified before the March 10 filing deadline. And I think the people that qualified before March 10 would be the people on the ballot.
What date is the primary?
The primary is August the 6th.
Okay, thank you.
One of the grounds in our lawsuit is there's not enough time to get this done.
Mm-hmm.
There was a case in 2022, which was a month more, a month closer to the, further away from the filing deadline. And the state Supreme Court ruled that that was not enough time for the August election.
Okay.
So we would think that it would stand up here, but we don't know what's going to happen with the judges. The other part is the fact that my opponent and myself, I've got 3 opponents really, and that we've been campaigning for some time. We've raised money from people who figured we were going to be running in this district, and that the field was set, and we've campaigned on those grounds, and that's a First Amendment violation. We've been campaigning since really, my primary opponent announced October 7th, and I started campaigning October 8th. And going to places and asking for votes, and people figured it was that was going to be the lineup.
Folks in the General Assembly have said that, as you say, it's a white guy and Justin Pearson. That's why they decided to chop up your district. Do you think if you had stepped aside that they would have kept your district intact?
I don't understand what you're saying. They don't like me. They hate Justin Pearson. They absolutely hate him. They don't like me. Some of them, they're okay with me. You know, some of them hate me. None of them love me. But a few of them are okay. I served 24 years in the state Senate. I went back and spoke about a month ago, and 3 state senators were there who I served with, one of which was a Republican who got up and expressed how I helped pass his first bill. He needed 5 votes, and that was his 5th vote in state and local government committee. I had a lot of friends on the Republican side, but most of them are gone. That's an absurd theory to think that they did this. I mean, they don't like me for sure, but they hate Justin.
Can I ask a broad-based question? You know, you guys have tried running on democracy and voting rights and election reform and judicial reform in the past. You did it in 2024, and it's been a real dud. You know, Trump tried to overturn an election, and he still won more votes than any other presidential candidate has. Do you think that changes because of what's happening this year in the redistricting war and the unusual nature of it? Or do you think Democrats do risk losing votes if they focus too sharply on that instead of economic things?
I think it's still true what James Carville said, is the economy's stupid. That hadn't changed. I think people care about affordability. Utility costs are high, food prices are high, gasoline has gone through the roof. I think people know that. And all products have gone up through the increase in gasoline increases the cost of delivery of products. So all products have gone up. And Trump doesn't care. He said it the other day, and it doesn't faze him. But I think we need to concentrate on the economy.
Congressman, do you have a message for state legislators in Maryland who are thinking about moving forward with redistricting before November?
You know, same thing I guess I told the NPR lady. She said, it sounds like tit for tat. You think that's okay? No, I've got a bill that would get beyond that And even the bills that the Democrats have pursued say that it will only be for this period because the threat Donald Trump is presented by seeking mid-decade redistricting. There was a law in Tennessee that was passed in 1971 that said you couldn't redistrict in mid-decade. That was the first thing they repealed because of Donald Trump. If you go high and they stay low, they win. Donald Trump is the greatest threat to democracy and to decorum and grace that we've ever seen. And we cannot allow him to have 2 years without being vigorous oversight, which will occur if the Democrats win the House. So, no, I think Donald Trump shows a threat that we need to respond on redistricting.
Congressman, kind of along those lines, have you reflected on what, this portends? You're the only Democratic member of the congressional delegation. We've seen, a key part of the voting rights act struck down.
It wasn't. You're right. It was struck down, but Alito makes a point of going, "We didn't strike it down. We just changed some of the formula." Well, they struck it down, but they know how bad that would sound if they struck it down, so they claim we didn't strike it down. We just changed the formula. Alito and Roberts need to go.
What does this mean for the long term for the country?
This could affect the country for a long time with the House, and there's more seats in the South they're going to try to get in Georgia, in Florida. They're going to have an election in Alabama in August. They'll get a seat, I imagine, in Louisiana. If Republicans continue to hold the House, and if Speaker Johnson continues to be he basically serves Donald Trump. He doesn't lead the House. We are not an equal branch of government and a check and balance on the administration. We're a branch of the administration. And he's an acolyte. And that's not the way the country's supposed to work.
Mr. Cohen, I know you said that you filed the paperwork today. When did you make the decision that you were going to, that this would be your last term? Like, when did you make the...
I considered not running this time, some time ago. I had more people in Memphis come to me and urge me to run because they know how I've delivered in community projects and the bridge, et cetera. And then I have a senior position to go after Trump and to get things done. So I responded because it was important for my city. When all this came up, I support the lawsuit and will run then. But I think my decision not to run was just in the last few days. Yeah.
And I know it's early, but can you share anything that you're particularly proud of in all of your years? Or is there, you've done a lot, but is there anything that stands out right now that you're particularly proud that you've been able to do from this seat in Congress for your constituents back home?
In the Congress, I think my constant vigilance over Donald Trump is what's been most important. I filed the first complete articles of impeachment, 17 co-sponsors, including my friend John Lewis. It was the only bill John Lewis almost got on his last year. Michael, his aide de camp or chief of staff, Michael Collins didn't want him to sign anybody's bill. And I went to John several times, and the last time I went to him on it, he said, "You just tell Michael, put me on." And he did. We had comprehensive, thought-out proposal to impeach Trump. It was a moment of, when I was watching Charlottesville and I saw Trump say there were fine people on both sides, that was it. And I've had a great relationship with Nancy Pelosi. I have great respect for her. I've supported her. Was never one of the dissidents that wanted to split off from her for any reason. And I had the courage to pick up the phone to call her. And thankfully, I got her answering service, recording. And I said, "Nancy, I've just got to file these impeachment articles because what he said about fine people on both sides just wasn't true." And so we worked on it and we filed it, and that was, I think that's. And then I've had an article and still have it to reform the pension, the pardons article, because he was abusing pardons, and there was a potential for him pardoning himself and the potential of him pardoning family members. He pardoned a whole lot of people who worked in his administration and political pals, and we needed to change that. And now that the court has given him immunity for all acts in his official capacity that came out of nowhere, he can get $1 million contributions the night before at Mar-a-Lago, or get monies that I'm sure go into his pocket, and offer pardons to some of the most heinous people in this country, people who've ripped off people with healthcare fraud, housing fraud, and they have had their orders to pay millions and tens of millions of dollars in restitution halted, so that the everyday common American who's been defrauded loses. But who wins? Donald Trump and the crook. So I worked on pardons reform. I worked on emoluments cases, questioned the lease at the Trump Hotel over here in the old post office, and they wouldn't give us papers. The lady at GSA who was in charge of that wouldn't give us the leases and the facts on it because she was a Trump person. He benefited from that office greatly financially, and now he's doing it with crypto. And you know, he considers the office to be his personal business. And we're buying shares in companies and percentages, and he's declaring tariffs that the court has said twice have been unconstitutional usurpation of congressional power, but his acolyte Mike Johnson hadn't said a word about it. So he's bringing about authoritarian government. When the legislature, the General Assembly acquiesces, Thune has shown a little bit more courage, but most of the people that voted to impeach him were beaten. And he got after him. He got after the people in Indiana. 5 of them lost. The 6th was in a tight race. I suspect that Louisiana election Saturday, I think the incumbent will probably get beat. Thank y'all.
Thanks.
You know what you're doing next?
You mean in my life?
Yes.
I'm going to be the congressman from the 9th District for the next 7.5 months, whether Donald Trump likes it or not.
You from now?
I don't know where I'll be.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for doing this. Thank you. What was the name of the mortician? The Nathan Bedford was mortician?